a 13-hour search produced about 20 or 30 boxes of classified documents at Joe Biden's residence. How long has he been in the government? About 50 years now? Probably goes all the way back when he was a young senator. And this is who we have for a president. Who has he been sharing those documents with?
The Archives and the Justice Department. We're fully cooperating and looking forward to getting this resolved quickly. I think you're going to find there's nothing there. I have no regrets. I'm following what the lawyers have told me they want me to do. It's exactly what we're doing. There's no there. Thank you.
Sorry, Grams. You can't call them cuties anymore. The other has decided that you can't have dragons unless you order them in a brown paper sleeve. So the mailman doesn't have to be wantonly subjected to the TNA of the Seven Kingdoms. You could go to the Christian streaming services where you can put on your ruby slippers and repeat to yourself over and over, but at least it's clean, but at least it's clean. Apparently, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, is also horribly executed. But does it have to be that way? Can a high standard for storytelling exist with a moral backbone and a complete set of clothes for every actor and actress? That is what Lure is about. Quality.
The search turned up 6 more classified items, this time from his years in the Senate, which he left more than a decade ago. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are pushing for more from the Justice Department on its investigation, growing frustrated with the slow drip of information.
We do not have different rules for Democrats or Republicans, different rules for the powerful or the powerless, different rules for the rich or for the poor.
The document issue is becoming a growing problem for the Biden administration. 64% of Americans say the president acted inappropriately, I should say, according to the new poll numbers.
4 members of the far-right militia group Oath Keepers were found guilty by a Washington, D.C. jury of charges related to the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. A federal judge ordered Roberto Minuta, Joseph Hackett, David Marshall, and Edward Vallejo to stay on house arrest until they are sentenced. The 4 men cannot have firearms in their house and will also have limits on phone and internet use. It's rare for the DOJ to seek seditious conspiracy charges.
Good afternoon, y'all. I learned a very interesting thing. Joe Biden owns 3 houses. Delaware, Maine. I bet you there's something up in Pennsylvania he owns too, where he was originally from. I do believe, wasn't it Pittsburgh he said or some shit? I think it was Pennsylvania, where he was originally from. I don't know. I'll have to check that out. But he's got 3 properties. How many more classified documents does he have in his possession that he's not supposed to have? He has been he was in the Senate for how many years? 40 some odd years. Come on. There's something dirty about that dude. Dirty, dirty, dirty.
Supposed cooperation remain shrouded in mystery. That is in itself very troubling, as are many other aspects of Bauer's statement. For instance, he did not mention that the FBI was involved. In fact, he didn't mention a lot of things, and the things he did mention were couched in extremely lawyerly language, which should be a huge red flag for everyone. It's becoming very obvious that the Biden stolen documents scandal is far bigger than Biden would have us believe. The initial excuse last week that Biden only had a handful of documents, an excuse which Biden himself repeated on Thursday, as we just saw, and that Trump had a lot more, has now turned out to be a false narrative. What's also notable is that Biden had these documents in various places over many years, whereas Trump had them in one place for about 1 year. In fact, there are now at least 5 separate instances where classified documents were found in Biden's possession. On November 2nd of last year, a stash of documents was found by Obama lawyer Dana Remus at the Biden Penn Center of the Chinese Communist Party-funded University of Pennsylvania in Washington, D.C. Then, on December 20th and January 11th, more classified documents were found, allegedly by Biden's own lawyers with no security clearances. Those documents were found at Biden's Delaware property. Then, as we reported last week, on January 12th, classified documents were again found at Biden's Delaware home, this time in a search involving White House lawyer Richard Sauber. As an aside, there seems to be very little media interest in the issue as to why a taxpayer-funded White House lawyer was involved in helping Biden clean up his personal legal mess. If it were Trump, he would probably have been impeached on that count alone. Well, and now we can also add January 20th, which is when the FBI found numerous additional classified documents in a 13-hour search of Biden's property. By carefully dissecting Bauer's late Saturday statement, we can learn quite a lot about what Team Biden, or perhaps Team Obama, are trying to hide and where this is all heading. Incidentally, or not, Bob Bauer was President Obama's personal attorney and the general counsel of the Obama 2008 presidential campaign. Let's start with the issue we already mentioned at the outset. Why is it that major media organizations claimed that there were only 6 classified documents found in the search of Biden's property, when in fact there were so many more, so many that they had to be carried out in boxes? While the media read the statement as saying that 6 more classified documents had been found, what the statement said was that they had found materials including 6 items consisting of documents with classification markings and surrounding materials. You can immediately see how deceptive the wording is here and why so many fell for it. 6 items consisting of documents isn't the same as 6 documents. For all we know, 6 items could be 6 boxes of documents, or perhaps 6 crates of documents, or pretty much anything Bauer would like it to mean. In other words, Bauer's statement is completely meaningless. We have no idea how many stolen documents were actually found, but the fact that Bauer used such deceptive language suggests that it was a lot more than anyone is even contemplating right now. While the 6 documents issue was the most glaring misdirection in Bauer's statement, there are many other such examples. One of these is right here in the first sentence, which
on this take on the Great Reset, and they consented to write. And over the course of 2 years, I enlisted them, I worked out what they were going to talk about, I edited their pieces, and now we're publishing finally. But it takes about 2, like with a movie, from start to finish, if you're lucky, it takes a minimum of 2 years. So here we are. The most important thing about this book, I think, is that people need to understand how variegated this threat is. It's not just Klaus Schwab in a German accent living inside an extinct volcano at the top of Switzerland. It's insidious, and as with any totalitarian movement, communism or anything else, it sticks its tentacles into everything. And it's always done in the guise of it's for your own good. It's for your own good, comrade, right? I always add comrade to it because that's really what they mean. And I hope this book gives everybody who's interested in this subject tools to combat it. And that's our launch. It's the first salvo in what we hope will be an international movement against the Great Reset. And our writers come from basically the Anglosphere. So the United States, Canada, Britain, Australia, New Zealand. And with a couple of exceptions, we have one Italian writer who's very, very good on the whole notion of shareholder and stakeholder capitalism. And now, like any book, it's like your child. Once they grow up and go away to college, they're on their own. So we'll see what happens.
Payments. Officials decided to go ahead with the demolition anyway. For context, in China, the Chinese Communist Party is the sole owner of all land, meaning people and businesses can only purchase the rights to use plots of land for a certain number of years, rather than buying the land itself. Police quickly scrubbed related videos of the incident from Chinese social media. Since 2014, officials in Zhejiang province have reportedly demolished crosses and religious symbols in more than 1,000 churches. That policy has since expanded to other regions. Priests have even faced jail time for their beliefs. Pope Francis tribute to those who were killed there during World War II. In all, some 1.1 million people were killed at the vast complex before it was liberated by Soviet troops on January 27, 1945. Today, the site stands as one of the world's most recognized symbol of evil that has been a site of pilgrimage for millions. Toy jobs, about 15% of its global workforce. Eric Nyman, president of Hasbro, also announced his departure from the company. In last year's third quarter, Hasbro reported a 15% decline in revenue. Following yesterday's announcement, Hasbro's stock fell 7%. Well, this is very cute. A Colorado bear making its own social media splash after taking hundreds of selfies. Check it out. The close-ups of the bear were captured on a trail camera used to monitor wildlife in Boulder. It's not usual for the cameras to catch pictures of wildlife going about their normal business, but this bear spent a lot of time checking out this camera. Officials say they got more than 400 selfies. Some of the images are already getting attention online, but there was no word if the bear has its own Instagram account yet.
His father tried CPR, the paramedics tried naloxone, but it was too late. Alex had taken a pill he believed to be Oxycontin. Turned out that it was a counterfeit pill made with fentanyl. That fake pill had enough fentanyl in it to kill 4 people. We only had him 14 years.
And now there appears to be a pattern emerging for some of these accidental fentanyl poisonings. Often the purchaser is a teenager, and usually the teen had no intention of buying fentanyl in particular. They're usually looking for something recreational. And more often than not, the transaction happens on Snapchat. Attorney Carrie Goldberg filed a lawsuit against Snap's parent company, Snap, back in October. She represents 9 families, 8 of whom had children who passed away due to fentanyl overdoses. Goldberg says Snap's app design makes it rife with dangerous drug deals. She gives us a number of reasons as to why this is.
Number 1, Snap's foundational product feature is disappearing messages, which draws in both minors interested in evading parental oversight, as well as drug dealers interested in dealing to vulnerable minors without detection. Number 2, Snap is the only social media product that markets to children while also encouraging anonymity. Snap's geolocating feature makes child users findable to dealers passing through their locality. It's called Snap Maps. The self-destructing texts, the expiring posts, and the secure data vault enable dealers to complete transactions without a trace.
These design features are also a headache for law enforcement. It's very hard for law enforcement to get data from these tech companies. Sheriff John Knowles says he searches over 200 cell phones a year, and he can't access 50% of them. He says there's a tremendous amount of evidence on phones and social media accounts he can't get access to.
They pride themselves on the fact that they are not storing data. That's how they advertise themselves to users, is we're not going to store the data, and if police come looking for it, we will not provide the data. And frequently, we are told when we serve processes to these providers is the information is stored on servers that is not in the United States. Therefore, your subpoena, your warrant has no standing.
Here's the thing, though. Snap and other platforms are completely free of liability. The only thing it has to do is respond to subpoenas, but even then, many accuse Snap of being slow to respond to these subpoenas, if at all. Snap says it's determined to remove illegal drug sales from its platform. It says it's working with law enforcement and that it's investing in proactive detection. Also added educational features. Every time someone searches using drug-related words, these educational materials will pop up to teach about the dangers of drug use. We've reached out to Snap for comment, but it didn't respond before airtime. During the House roundtable, one key...
And they rolled it back a little bit, but probably not. I'm glad to see people closing their PayPal accounts. You can't put up with this. Does Bezos have power? He can shut anything down he wants. He can end the book industry tomorrow if he feels like it. We all of us who write in a controversial way or even an analytical way are used to getting troll attacks on our books so that they deliberately try to drive down your star rating because they know that at a certain point Amazon won't plug your book if it's below, say, 3. They had some metric. It may have changed. So you're fighting that constantly. And you don't think Zuckerberg, Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook, who's now at Meta, who wants Meta to be actually an entire alternate world in which they'll control what we do here in this matrix-like simulacrum of life. They're not kidding, and they have the money to do it. I mean, the amount of wealth that they've piled up is stupefying. No Roman emperor could ever have that much money. So it's kind of fun to see Elon Musk driving them crazy just because he's a wild card who doesn't conform to their blinkered sort of Soviet gulag way of thinking.
There's never enough time. Who's going to teach
Have all the justification in the world to remove Shifty Schaefer from the Intelligence Committee.
And the best part,
Wasn't he the one that brought that fake Russiagate bullshit into Congress?
And try it for free.
Along with the rest of the Democrats?
But don't know what to do next?
He doesn't deserve to be on the Intelligence Committee.
Get started today.
Not when somebody's going to bring lies out and use it as evidence
step by step.
in an impeachment.
1,000 patents have been secured through InventHelp's
It's
patent
all
research service.
bogus.
Our
And he's
services include
responsible
professional
for it.
materials needed to showcase your invention.
Every bit of it.
And prototype modeling that helps
Along
you
with the
demonstrate
rest
your
of those idiots.
Get down to the details of
He
your
doesn't
idea.
deserve to be on the Intel Committee.
Have nothing to do but cause trouble.
And maybe that's a good way of explaining it. It is kind of this like wealthy people who are essentially living on like welfare, essentially familial welfare.
When you don't have to earn a living, you can do other things. And you can become a drug addict, you can become a bum. You know, so many of the Brits in the 19th century, they didn't know what to do with the inherited wealth. So they just became sort of troublemakers.
And we do see that with communism. Now, getting into the idea of what these groups are doing, especially the World Economic Forum, and they're trying to remake humanity. If you get into their writings, it's very similar to what Marx talked about in Das Kapital, this idea of recreating the world in man's image.
Yes.
That remaking everything, not just economic systems, but down to like re-engineering plants and human DNA. Like Marx got into this idea of re-engineering humanity down to the very core of everything.
Correct.
And we see them doing it now.
Well, you know, there was the thing called the New Soviet Man, who was to... It's a perversion of Christianity. It's what effectively Marxism is. Remember, Marx was from a long line of rabbis who converted to Christianity, not for any religious reasons, but because German Jews would prosper more if they were Lutherans. So you saw this happen constantly. Felix Mendelssohn, his grandfather was Orthodox Jewish and changed his religious affiliation in order to give his kids a chance at success. So Marx is the same way. So he rejected his rabbinical background. But he still, like a lot of religious zealots, has this idea that we can transform the nature of man. Rousseau starts it, of course, with his own ideas about, you know, we're born free, but everywhere mankind is in chains. That's the opening line of the book. And then
much higher IQ than you do, I suspect. I went to law school on a full academic scholarship, the only one in my class to have a full academic scholarship.
In the first year in law school, I decided I didn't want to be in law school and ended up in the bottom 2/3 of my class, and then decided I wanted to stay, went back to law school, and in fact ended up in the top half of my class. I won the international moot court competition. I was the outstanding student in the political science department at the end of my year. I graduated with 3 degrees from undergraduate school and 165 credits, only need 123 credits, and I'd be delighted to sit down and compare my IQ to yours if you'd like, Frank.
Actually, he finished near the bottom of the class. According to CNN, he was next to the bottom. Rudy Giuliani said, well, that guy died. That made Biden go to the bottom. Now, does the raw sewage include the dismissal of the Hunter Biden laptop story by 50 former intelligence officials days before the 2020 election as, quote, having all the earmarks of a Russian disinformation operation, end of quote?
Biden's secret emails.
A really fishy story.
The Post claimed that the emails were found on a laptop computer that was brought to a repair shop in Delaware in the spring of 2019.
The FBI is now investigating whether those alleged Hunter Biden emails are actually connected to a larger foreign intelligence operation.
They may be related to a foreign intelligence operation.
Foreign intelligence operation.
Foreign intelligence.
Foreign intelligence.
Foreign intelligence operation. For all we know, these emails are made up.
The information found on the laptop may be part of a Russian disinformation campaign.
Part of a Russian disinformation effort.
Described by many intelligence experts as having hallmarks, all the hallmarks of a Russian disinformation.
Russian disinformation.
Disinformation campaign.
This is a classic example of the right-wing media machine.
Does raw sewage include Trump colluded with Russia? That Biden's son Beau died in Iraq? That according to Democrats, Trump committed insurrection? And that according to Biden and other Democrats, 5 police officers died at the Capitol building on January 6th, when in fact, none died on that day. Does the raw sewage of misinformation include the...
A 13-hour search produced about 20 or 30 boxes of classified documents at Joe Biden's residence. How long has he been in the government? About 50 years now? Probably goes all the way back when he was a young senator. And this is who we have for a president. Who has he been sharing those documents with?